All right, we are back. This is the one and only OSB Sports Podcast. I am Scott Matthews, and we have an action-packed show going today. We're going to talk a little NFL playoffs. They're down to the championship games, and we got a huge guest coming on in a couple of minutes. Barry Goldstein, one of the top golfing teachers in the country by Tip Magazine. That's right, and they rated him one of the top 50 in the whole United States, and he's going to come on and talk about a big golf event going this weekend, the Farmers Market Open going out of San Diego. But I want to welcome the main man behind our show, the one and only CEO of the Sports Profits, Teddy Brooks. What's up, Teddy?
What's up, Scotty? Look what I have today. I want to be
you got the Tommy D look.
I'm trying to be like the big kahuna here, so
By
I
the
put
way,
the sunglasses
did I
on.
mess it up? Was that the right name for that tournament this weekend?
It's actually the Farmers Insurance.
Farmers
I should
Insurance.
call it Farmers Market.
Not the market.
I'm used to the Farmers
You're used
Market.
to going to the Farmers Market on Saturday
There
to
you
get your
go.
produce.
I apologize
A little
for that
bit different.
One. All right. And here he is, my man, the big kahuna of the OSB, Tommy D.
This is going to be a really great show, guys. I mean, these two teams, these two games are going to obviously dictate who's going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And
Can you believe it?
I can't believe we went through this whole season, and it's coming down to just two games.
As they call it in college basketball, we're down to the Final Four.
Final Four,
and
yeah.
you know what? You got four phenomenal teams going, and it's going to be interesting. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on because, you know what? We got something that is really interesting, the topic of golf. You know, a lot of people are into it more and more over the years, have grown into the game of golf. And when you got a top guy like Barry Goldstein on the show, we want to get to Barry. Barry, I want to welcome you on the show, and I want to hear your insights on the game of golf. That's what for sure. And see what's going on this weekend. You got a big tournament, the Farmers Insurance Open out of San Diego. What's your thoughts? How long have you been around the golf game, basically?
Oh, gosh. Good to be on the show with you guys. My whole adult life, really. And I've played that golf course, Torrey Pines South Course in San Diego.
Okay.
Outstanding golf course. They actually play 3 rounds on the South Course and 1 on the North Course. The North is a little easier. I've played both, and you got to be a good ball striker at that golf course. The wind will be blowing. They have funky greens there. They're called Poana greens. They're a little different. Here in Florida, we have Bermuda grass.
Yep.
In the northeast part of the country, they have bent grass. These greens are a little more, they can get torn up and chewed up. Putting at Pebble Beach and Torrey Pines, courses like that can be a little frustrating because the greens get a little more torn up through the course of the day. But yeah, my whole adult life's been, I've just been very lucky.
And you've taught some of the top pros
Yeah.
and stuff like that out
Yes,
there that currently on the tour or from before?
I had a guy, Brandon Matthews was a student of mine, and he had his PGA Tour card last year.
Okay.
Didn't make enough money to keep it this year. Although there's a young man in this tournament this week, Max Greitzman, who grew up down here. My daughter was a dominant junior player down here, Carly Ray, and they won a lot of tournaments together. He would win the boys' end, and she would win the girls' end. So, yeah, I know a lot of guys out there. I mean, when I was a young man, I played against Tiger. So, I mean, I go that far back. When Tiger was 14, I played against him in the Dixie Amateur.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Did you know he was special, though, at 14? Did you see anything in the game then?
It's funny. I was asked that on the Golf Channel on national TV, and all I could say is I was humbled.
Mm-hmm.
I was humbled. He was that good. I didn't know he'd be Jack Nicklaus good, but I knew he was special.
What about his son? What do you think of that?
I think his son is a talented kid. He's not going to be Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen again. I think it's a lot of heat on him. As a father of a daughter that was ranked first in Florida and 60th in the world when she was 17, he hasn't quite reached that level yet. He hasn't won a lot of big golf tournaments. But with Tiger as his teacher, come on. I mean, he's a member up at the medalist. He's got all the things going for him that could lead to an amazing career. But that's a lot to put on a kid's shoulders to think he's going to be like his dad.
Hey, it don't hurt, though, when your father's
Wait,
Tiger Woods. It's going
Barry,
to get you through some doors.
Quick question.
Sure.
What about Tiger's career? What's left of him, you think?
Personally,
What's left of him?
Well, in his career, I mean,
me as a person first, and I'll talk as a golf professional, I would never count Tiger Woods out of anything. His heart, his drive, his work ethic. I could never say Tiger Woods won't win again or he's done. I can absolutely see him winning again.
Oh, yeah.
In the right situation, on the right golf course. where walking isn't such a big, not a lot of hills. The golf pro in me, his club head speed, his ball striking is as good as it needs to be to win. I notice he doesn't putt as good as he did when we were younger, but none of us putt as good as when we were 20 years old. I think Tiger's career is definitely not over, and it would not shock me if he won another golf tournament.
Wow.
I know he wants that record, most wins on the PGA Tour. He's tied with Sam Snead.
Yep.
And I know he wants another Masters or another major. I know he does. I've been lucky. I've been around him a lot. So I see him in a little different light. You know, I played against him, and more than that, I've bumped into him at the Golf Channel, and I've talked with him at length, you know, and he's a different guy. He's
Been through a lot, though.
been through a lot. I think my body's a lot younger than Tiger's body, if you know what I mean. He's put his body through much of it to his own fault, but his body has got to be beaten to a pulp with all the surgeries. But I love Tiger Woods. If it wasn't for Tiger Woods, my career would not be nearly as lucrative or successful. So I got nothing but good words to say about him.
I'm going to throw it to our resident
Sure.
golfer, Teddy, because Teddy is all about golf.
Yeah,
I know he's got some questions
I love
for you.
golf. So you mentioned your body being younger than Tiger. I got a question for you. Any future Michael Block type situations coming up for you in your life?
Ooh, no, I'm very much into teaching these days. I make my living as a teacher. I'm very fortunate. When my daughter became a world-class player, my playing career, I sort of just settled it a little. And I love what I do for a living. But, man, I respect Michael Block a ton. He's in the tournament this week, by the way.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's had some late, success as a golf pro. But me as a player, I don't have that determination and that drive I had in my 30s. You know, my daughter became a great player when I was in my early 40s, and I just donated all that passion, all that drive over to her. And I love teaching. That's what I do. And, you know, I've had a lot of recognition for it. It's been great for me. So as a player, I just don't have that passion to go out and work like it. You need to work to be great at golf, like any other sport. And I love helping people do that now, if you know what I mean.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, I think you need a lot of teaching to teach these two guys right here how to become
You
golfers.
always need a lot of
you might need
teaching.
a whole new career of time for us to.
I'll teach Tommy D anytime.
I once got thrown off Deer Creek's course.
I think that the
Literally.
word "for" comes out of us more than any two people alive nowadays. When we hit a
that's
golf
great.
ball, all I hear is "for."
So funny story, guys. I just met Barry today, and it turns out an instructor that has given me lessons in the past, Barry taught that instructor. So
Passing
it's
the
a
torch.
small,
Very nice guy.
small
who-
world.
I used to have Golf Pro Day where I'd have pros from around the country fly in and spend a day with me. And he came for the whole day, Jess, great guy. And I see whenever he posts on Facebook, he thanks the guys that helped him become successful. He always tags me, which is
Very
very
cool.
nice.
Let me ask you a question. I'm just curious. What age do you feel like you should start at, and when do you really start to recognize the talent out of like a young kid that you see potential that maybe he can make it up the ranks? You know,
That's an awesome question. I'll just give you my experience. I used to think you had to start very young. Like my daughter was winning tournaments at age 8.
8. Wow.
And she's won 105 golf tournaments, Florida
Wow.
State high school champion, LSU Tigers, you know. However, I've seen some great players that started at 16 and 18.
They bloom later.
Yes, I
Right.
taught some people that I thought, when I saw him at 15, I thought, no way this guy. And then one of them's on the PGA Tour. You know, I think it's hard to put a finger on that.
Because you know the parents for young kids are always going to think their
No.
kids got talent.
Oh, we
so
all
it's up
do.
to someone like you to like give them the reality check, maybe.
Very true. And you don't want to break hearts, but I'm always very straightforward
Yeah.
and honest.
Yeah, you have
You know,
to be.
yeah.
Because you know the
yeah.
parents always going to think, "Oh, my kid's the best." You
Of
know,
course.
he's better than the rest of them. And
Yep.
it doesn't mean much, though.
No,
at
it
the end
doesn't.
of the day,
I think a perfect thing to do as a parent, start them young.
right?
You can't start them too young, but let them play other sports. Like in my daughter's, she was a swimmer. She liked other sports.
Oh, that's good.
But once she won a world championship when she was 11 at Doral, and that was it. She just knew. She beat the best players from around the world that were 11 years
Played
old.
the Blue Monster.
It was actually on the red course, although she played the blue as a 17-year-old.
That's tough.
Yeah, and she came in third in that one. But
I think we'd shoot about 150, 160 on that course, Tommy.
I think you can start
If
them
we're
young.
lucky.
If you've got a kid, for our viewers that are listening, if you've got a kid that shows an interest in golf, Get them started young. You're doing them a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
don't
mean,
wait till they're 20. Start them young.
No.
Yeah.
Especially, if you see some talent.
Oh,
Speaking of starting young, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No, I wanted to know about this tournament. So, I guess there's not a definitive tournament that's the start, but to me, this is like the start of the season, right?
it's a pretty big kickoff. I
Farmers
agree.
Insurance.
Technically, they used to think the one in Hawaii 2 weeks ago is the start of the season, but this is usually like Tiger used to start his season right here. This was where Tiger would open his season every year, and I think he won on this golf course 6 times, including the U.S. Open with the broken leg. I'm sure you guys remember that in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
That was at Torrey Pines South, and
the back, the legs.
yeah, this tournament is a big one because it's got a lot of tradition behind it. They've played Torrey Pines for many, many years. It's a world-class property. I mean, I'm blessed to have played there several times, there and Pebble Beach, and they're just phenomenal properties. They're hard on the Pacific Ocean. There's people hang gliding off the golf course. It's
Yeah, it's cool.
oh, it's dramatic. If you've never been to California and you're a golfer, one day go play Pebble Beach or Torrey Pines.
Oh, yeah.
Your jaw will drop.
How do you deal with the wind factor, I imagine?
You know, you live here in Florida. It's always windy in the winter here in Florida. So I just grew up. I moved here when I was 18. You just learn how to play in the wind. You learn how to hit the ball low. You learn how to swing easy when it's breezy, not try to compress the ball too much and make it blow up in the air. If you can't play in the wind, you can never be a great player. So good players just learn how to handle that. It is what it is.
Like on a course like this one this weekend, does this favor long ball hitters or short game hitter? I mean, who would this kind of event favor more? Like, because there's so many good young players
For sure.
that have so much talent nowadays.
Off the top of my head, my first answer to that, if you'll notice, all the guys that are the favorites for betting in this, they're all Southern California kids.
Yeah.
Alexander Schauffele.
So they know the course more.
They just grew up playing that grass.
Right.
Like if the tournament was down here in South Florida, a lot of Florida guys that had success, they're very comfortable on Bermuda grass. Well, this is a little different type of physical conditioning for the golf course. It's a different grass. So the guys from California are all the favorites, and Morikawa, he's from Northern California. He's a favorite out there. Xander Schauffele. I like Max Homa would be a guy that you could pick.
He won last year, I think.
There you or he'd be a guy that I could pick to win this year because he's a Southern California kid. He's played that golf course, I'm going to guess, a couple hundred times in his life. That helps.
Yeah, he's currently 12-1 max.
That would be a good one to go.
He's third favorite.
Alexander's
Fourth favorite.
10-1.
That's another good favorite.
Right.
Where is
Morikawa is 11-1.
There you go.
Patrick Cantlay is 11-1.
Those are all
So those
California
are the top
kids.
3. After that, you have a golfer I've never heard of, Ludwig Aberg, who's plus 2,000, which is 20-1. So I look at this and I see, I mean, these 4 guys all had incredible seasons last year too.
Great young players.
Great
all of
young
them.
players.
Yeah, all of them.
And what I'm, just for people watching, the golf season starts now, as we said, and really goes through the summer. You have the Open Championship as the last major. And then once football starts, golf is pretty much starting to fade down for the year. So this is the golf season. Now, pretty much until July, August area, the start of football.
And it's every week, right, Barry? Every
yes,
week?
they'll play every week.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about once Liv came in. If everybody knows what happened with Liv, they came, they shook up the golf world. So what the PGA started to do was infuse more money into certain tournaments, and they have a name for those tournaments. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I want to say they are. I'll just use the word selected events or something like that.
Select events, I think they're called.
And the Liv did force them. They infused more money in it. I want to say I wouldn't be surprised if Torrey Pines is one of them.
I was going to say, that was?
I'm almost sure this would be. Bay Hill would be one of those.
TPC Sawgrass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that always had the biggest purse anyway. That was the Players' Championship is a huge purse. But I would feel like the guys that are on the Liv Tour.
They got big bucks, man.
Oh, big bucks.
Bryson Chambo and Dustin Johnson.
The thing they gave up,
money.
They gave up that legacy of winning. Like I said, Tiger's won on this golf course 6 times. Those guys aren't going to have that. However, they got a lot of money. I mean,
You got a $10 million check.
Some of them got $100 million.
You may forget about that,
For sure.
possibly.
Hundreds of millions.
300 million.
You know who would be a good? There's a couple dark horses in this tournament. Not a dark horse. He just lost in a playoff 2 weeks ago in Hawaii. But a guy like Keegan Bradley would be a good pick in this tournament.
He's plus 3,000. So he's
That's
30
a good
to 1.
bet. I
30 to
mean,
1.
he just played great 2 weeks ago. He lost in a sudden death playoff in Hawaii. He's played on this tour a lot. He's played this golf course many, many times. That would be a good dark horse. Or somebody like, you go down lower. Give me some guys that are really low on the odds, and I'll tell you who I think could be a good dark.
I'm looking at like Will Zalatoris.
He just came back
Billy
from an injury.
Horschel.
Michael Kim, 100,000 to 1.
Go way down. Go
who's
way
that?
down to the bottom. Give me the guys that
who's
are
Michael Kim?
Okay, I'll give you a Californian who's way down at the bottom.
What about a guy like Justin Thomas? He's not.
Probably
don't
not
think he's playing this
That's
week.
what I was going to
He's out.
say.
He'd
A
have
lot
been
of
probably
big
the
names.
favorite.
Will Gordon. You got Will
Do you
Gordon.
see a guy named Nick Watney way down at the bottom?
Yeah, plus
okay.
25, plus 250,000.
So you could get rich laying a couple $100 on this guy.
Yeah,
Now there's a guy. I'm not
If
saying.
you laid 400 on him, you'd make $1 million.
Okay, so there's a guy.
I got some good land for sale though too.
This is a kid.
I'm going to
from-
go to the Hard Rock right after this.
Yeah.
This is
I
a
don't know
kid
about
from
that one.
California. He grew up out there. He's from Northern California. He was a great player. He won at Doral, a world event. Lost his game for a while, and he's just now starting back after it. I'm not saying he's going to win this tournament, but if I was going to pick a guy to make me tons of money,
Yeah.
that's a guy that's worth throwing $100 on.
And Barry, that's what people love nowadays.
That's why I
in
mentioned it.
sports betting. They love betting the smallest little amounts to make
Win
these
huge,
amounts.
exactly.
Right.
And,
Why
and
not?
the outcome is obviously a little bit more unlikely, but it does happen, so people want to do
Give
it.
me one more that's way down at the bottom. I'll tell you who I think might be.
I have a list, but I don't know who's on. Who's playing.
I mean,
He's
I'm
looking
just
at it
I'm
right
naming
here.
'Cause
I'm
on my
naming
li-
names that the Nick Watney guy I've never
J.B.
heard
Holmes.
J.B. Holmes was a phenomenal player 10, 12 years ago, had some injuries, hits the ball as far as anybody. There'd be a guy that's worth throwing a couple
of.
dollars on.
Ches Reavy is a name that
Is Cameron
heard.
Champ way down there?
I see Tommy D, 4 million to 1. He's on. He's
Well, he
all
got
the
kicked
way.
off
he's,
Deer
he's
Creek.
below.
Tommy D couldn't.
He's below the list.
Tommy D
There's a
didn't-
list and then
didn't-
another
didn't-
list.
No, you got your boy Michael Block, 250,000.
Well, there's
to
not a
1.
guy that I'd throw in. I mean, he's a PGA Pro. He's a guy like me that teaches most of the week. Great player, but not at the level those guys are at.
I don't see Cam Champ.
What
on
about
here.
Jordan Spieth? Is he
Okay.
injured? Spieth?
He's just not
Spieth,
playing.
excuse
He's
me.
not injured. I would pick him in the Masters. I think
Yeah.
he'd be a great pick at Augusta.
Yeah,
25,000 Cameron Champ. So
Now, there's another
So
guy
still
that you
a
can make some good money.
solid bet.
Teddy, to be honest, Cameron Champ hits the ball as far as anybody that's playing. If his game's on, that's a guy that could have a victory for somebody that put $100 on him and made a lot of money.
Yeah, and a lot. You guys mentioned a couple huge names: Thomas, Spieth, who are
Jordan
Yeah.
Spieth.
Yeah, Thomas
Oh,
and Spieth.
right,
I meant,
Tom- yep.
Yeah.
who are actually best friends. They fly
Yeah,
together and do
right.
everything
And
together.
Jason Day.
Yeah, he's in it. Day's in
That
it.
would be a great pick. What's Day's odds?
They're pretty
He's
high.
He's
yeah,
about 15.
Tell
I
you
think,
what, I'm
right?
going to go with him
25
this
to
week.
1.
Yeah.
20, I'm
25.
going to go with him this week. He's playing good. He's experienced. He's played this golf course. I'll bet he's played this tournament just off the top of my head 10 times.
And he closed last season pretty strong. Too.
That would be
He's-
a good pick because he's not one of the favorites. You can make a nice chunk of change.
Right.
I would give him a good shot at being in the hunt. If I was picking a top 10 for money, I think Jason Day would be a great pick.
So, guys, when you go to your sports book, if you are looking to bet golf, you don't have to pick the winner out of all these. They have over-unders. They have props. They
What
have
does an over and
matchups.
under consist of?
Like, they'll give a score for
Okay.
one
Oh.
player, and you have to bet if the
they're
player is
gonna
going to
hit
score
over
over
that? Okay.
or under that score. They
gotcha.
could do a one-round bet. They can do
If
a
they make the
matchup.
cut?
So, like, the top two players, according to the odds, are Schauffele and Morikawa. What they could do is they could put who's going to do better out of just those two, Schauffele and Morikawa.
You could do a head-to-head too
You could
against
do
them?
head-to-heads. You could do all kinds of bets.
And what's becoming really popular is live betting in golf.
Yeah.
As the match is going on, the odds are constantly shifting. And if you see a player that you think's going to fall off, so live betting is very interesting.
Or if you see a player who might have had a bad round, but you think he's going to turn it around and jump up, you can bet on him. So
I'll
there's
give you some things to look for, Teddy. Like, this is what I always look at. I'm not the gambler you guys are. I'm an amateur. However, I've picked some good picks. I gave my brother a winner a couple years ago in the Masters. He thanked me. But last year I was on his radio show, Dusty and Danny on Sirius Radio. Danny Cannell, the quarterback. You guys know Danny.
Sure. Florida State, I think,
on,
right?
on 93.
Yeah, 84 now. It's
The
the
PGA
Dusty
channel?
and Danny. It's the college sports show.
Oh, okay.
So I did a Masters segment. I was up in Augusta. I'll be up there again this year. So And I just did a segment and I said, there's one guy, super long shot. If I'm picking a top 10, he grew up in Macon, Georgia. He just rises in majors. His name's Russ Henley. Sure enough, he came in 4th or 5th. Some guy I don't even know heard that and sent me a check for like $50, I swear.
What a sport.
Yeah, right? But the reason I went with a guy like that.
That's not Big Kahuna tipping.
No.
Big Kahuna gives big tips.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up in that area. Macon is an hour or two from Augusta. I've also spoken to him. A good friend of his is a student of mine, Michael, and he's gotten me in touch with Russell. So I had a little bit of knowledge about him, and I just thought, there's a kid, if he plays good, I think he could play come in top 10 at Augusta. He played great. He was in the hunt for the lead, came in 4th or 5th. So if you'd have put some money on him,
that's another thing you could do. You could bet on top 5. You
top
could bet
10.
on top 10.
Top 20.
make the cut. You
Make
can
the
bet.
cut,
Right.
Okay, one of the greatest bets, I'm not a gambler like you guys are. I've hardly gambled. However, I made some good money on Tiger one year. I bet Tiger against the field when he was in his prime. Now that means you're picking Tiger Woods
Right.
alone to
win
beat
it against everybody else.
Exactly. And
He's the lone wolf left.
boy, when he was that good though, the odds
Oh,
on
he
that
dominated.
Yeah, and it wasn't like you were going to win major money because he was such a favorite. But I remember he was.
I mean, didn't you love the days when Mickelson and Tiger Woods were going at each other?
Remember
mean,
at Doral?
I mean, that
Remember
was
that?
intense golf.
Do you remember that one-on-one battle at Doral? Maybe
Oh, yeah.
15. That was one of the greatest battles of
Unbelievable.
all time.
Yeah, I mean, that was like crazy. They
For
were,
sure.
And they riled each other up to the point where they won,
Tiger didn't
when
want Mickelson to
said
ever beat
something,
him.
That's
Yep.
when Tiger went on a tear and won like 13 out of 16.
Yeah, he criticized
It was
the
like crazy.
equipment Tiger was using.
Yeah, and he just went
Tiger
on.
went and
He
just.
said, I'll show you who's boss.
Yeah, Tiger's been phenomenal.
I had a question about things that you do
Sure.
before we go, and we appreciate your time on the show,
My
obviously.
pleasure.
Like if someone wants to get hooked up with you personally, like the kid, they see the kid has potential, like to hire a coach like yourself. I mean, I don't know the dollars and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, but what type of money does let's say a good golf instructor charge for a kid for lessons and stuff like that? Because I know it
different-
gets deep.
Yes, it does. Different prices in different areas of the country. Excuse me. I spend half the year in my awesome hometown in upstate New York. I'm in Binghamton, New York.
Oh boy.
And the cost of living up there is way less expensive than here. The cost of a house is a quarter of what it costs down here, so I don't charge as much. In Florida, a house is $1.3 million. You go for pizza, it's $25. Up in my hometown, a pizza is $10. A house is $170,000. So just depends where you are. But in South Florida,
There's no scale rate kind of?
no. Like I charge less in my hometown than I do in South Florida.
Okay.
Just because there isn't the wealth in that area that there is down here. And I'm at a very fancy private club here. Up there, I teach at an awesome public facility. So it's just a different game. But I would say this. Most of the kids that you're seeing on that PGA Tour that we're talking about betting on, 99.9% of them have a teacher that they love. They grew up at a golf course that their teacher, they would go to see somebody and they develop a trust with him, and that's how they become great. You don't become great on your own. It's different than basketball. If you threw a basketball out on the court, the best athlete's going to take over. Golf, the best fundamental player, the guy with the biggest heart, the person whose nerves and brain is in a good place that week has a really good shot.
Well, that's a lot of head game, right? With this golf. I mean, I go out and play. I get so frustrated. I make a bad shot. I'm ready to kill somebody. I know it's got to be a major head game.
I would say
Keeping your head in it.
having a daughter that was such a world-class player, something I learned from her, staying calm, cool, and collected really, really pays off in golf. Being emotional. If you make 3 birdies and you're all excited, you make 3 bogeys and you're crushed, that's a hard way to play golf. Staying like you're cool. Someone says, nice shot. You smile, say thanks, but you just keep going. That's the way to play golf.
Quick question.
Sure.
They always focus on the caddy. Is there a set amount what a caddy makes if they win, his golfer wins
For
the tournament?
sure. I've caddied in 2 PGA Tour events. One of my students was in an event. I was working on his swing. He said, can you carry my bag this week? Usually it's 10% of what they win.
Wow.
Or if he misses the cut, if he misses the cut and doesn't make the nickel, it might be $1,000 for the week, $800 for the week.
So if I caddy the winner this week and I can make like $240,000.
This is a $9 million purse. So the winner would get about how much on this?
$2.5 million.
I'm guessing at that level, it might be 5 to 8% because these guys, their bags are so valuable They know they're going to make 8, 10, 12 million this year. Think of what the caddy would make if it was 10%. They might knock it down to 8, 7. The year I caddied in New York State for my student, back when the purses, this is when Tiger was a young man. So this is pre-Tiger. I think he won 28 grand. So I got $2,800. Not a bad week.
No.
However, now you come in 20th, you're making 400 grand, 200 grand, 250 grand. It's a different
serious business.
Tiger upped the purses so much
Oh yeah,
in his prime.
took the game to a whole different
He
level.
upped the purses, and now, I mean, tell me what you think. I know
Mm-hmm.
you're at a really nice. By the way, I think you got like Michael Jordan's a member at Adios. Is that correct?
Michael Jordan's actually a member at his own course up in
Oh,
Jupiter.
Grove 23,
Yeah,
right?
he built his own golf course, which is
But you got some
top-notch.
big names there.
Yeah, okay. To be honest, the biggest names I've taught have been at this public facility in upstate New York at Polar Shock Golf Facility where I teach. I've taught PGA Tour players. I've taught two PGA Tour winners up there. I don't know if you remember a guy named Mike Standley. He won the New Orleans event. Mike was a great player. University of Houston, top 25s on the PGA Tour. You know, if you're good, they're going to come where you're at.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's some big names, though. I mean, hey, we're in South Florida.
I heard some rumors up in that Jupiter course, Jordan would play $1 million
Oh, I'm
games.
sure.
Oh yeah.
I've played behind Michael with my daughter down at Turnberry Isle. Yeah, you could see they play for big money.
All right, interesting stuff.
So one more thing while
Sure.
we're
get 'em.
signing out. Golf's obviously gaining in popularity. Tommy was saying earlier that last year about $5 billion was bet
on
Amazing.
golf.
Yeah.
The game's growing. I can't find a tee time nowadays. Even a week out, it's hard to find tee time. So you're right. Tiger grew the game. The game is growing, and that means that betting is growing. Betting options will grow. So now that we're in the season, guys, let's start dabbling in a little bit of golf, and
By
then
all
hopefully
means. We gotta have Barry
before
back,
Barry heads
definitely.
back to New York.
Oh, this
we'll-
would be a fun group to teach.
yeah, before you head back to New York, we'd love to have you on a
It'd be
couple
my
more
pleasure.
times for
It'd
some
be-
of these big tournaments.
And you know, even when I go to New York, if you wanted to do it via Zoom, we could do something before the Masters. I think we'd have a blast with that.
Yeah, first week in April.
Pleasure being on with you guys. Good group
Hey,
of people.
Barry, we appreciate you, and
And how can people find you, though, Barry?
They could just go on the internet, put Barry Goldstein Golf into the. I'm pretty easy to find.
he's out there, Big Kahuna. You're not the only one
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
out there. Come on, man.
Yeah, they'll find me.
He thinks he's the only one out there.
I get found pretty easy.
Hey,
stuff.
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pleasure being on with you
Thanks
guys.
for being on.
Great job,
And
guys.
we'll definitely have you back before the Masters.
I'll look forward to
So
it.
be ready for us. We want some winning advice.
I'll be ready, buddy.
All right. Well, guys, don't get any better than that, does it? You got a golf expert that knows the game inside and out, from the teaching of it to the players and so forth and so on.
Yeah, golf is it's the type, when you're betting it especially, it's a type of game where you really got to look at the course. You got to look at which players have played well at that course before, which ones haven't. Like Barry said, the kids that are from that area obviously played that course a lot more. A lot of people, me and Tommy were talking about this earlier, a lot of people in this business make big money betting golf, because when you can dial it in, to me it's like college football where you have those similar matchups, similar situations. When you can dial it in, you can really light it up.
Well, listen, if you just hook yourself onto a handful of players and watch what they're doing throughout a period of time, you can catch a gauge on them.
Yeah,
I would think.
absolutely.
100%.
It's always about an edge, guys. We preach edges all the time. No matter what the sport is, you're always looking for an edge, whether you're catching a hot basketball team, a hot baseball team, a hot football team, or a team that's down and you see a little turnaround coming. You're always looking for the edge. I'm sure it's the same with golf, too. You see guys starting to play better and better. They come onto courses where maybe their game fits, better on those kind of, like you said, on the grass or the different surfaces that they offer. So it may, you could probably catch a good price,
Definitely.
and that's it. Hey, we got a lot to talk about, and golf is not my thing, but I'm starting to get into it a little bit. I don't know about yourself. Is golf one of your favorite?
Personally, I don't play golf, but I have received some really sharp tips in golf.
Okay.
And there is a lot of money to be made betting golf, without a doubt.
You got the shades. It looks like you're ready to go on the golf
but
course.
let's get into football though this weekend, guys, because these are two teams are going to go to the big game in
Big
Vegas.
dance. Wow. And
Yep.
I'm hearing crazy, crazy prices. Vegas is like,
Forget about it.
you're not going to get in that town unless you have a big, big checkbook. Just for the hotel, the food, the entertainment. It's going to be a madhouse out there. But, yeah, we got two great games. The first game is going to be phenomenal. You got Kansas City, the man himself, the king, Patrick Mahomes. Imagine been to the divisional championship game 6 straight years in a row.
His entire career.
Yeah, he's been there, going against Lamar Jackson, probably the best team in the NFL over the last several weeks and maybe all season long. This is going to be a great game. The current line on this game, guys, believe it or not, they're making Mahomes. They're not giving much respect for Kansas City, I guess, in this one. Kansas City is a 3.5-point underdog in this game. I'm trying to pull up the total on it.
Like 44.5.
44.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with Teddy. What's your call on this one?
So I crushed it the first week, the wild card round. I really got my butt spanked last week. And I
Not
didn't,
me. Not me.
Scotty had a great week last week. I really was wrong about the Texans. The first half of that game looked great, and then, Lamar just took over and the Ravens took over. So I was wrong about that. And I was wrong about Josh Allen beating Mahomes and covering that spread. I thought it was going to be Buffalo. But I'm going to go two teams I went against last week are facing each other. I'm going with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I think it is their time. I think a lot of people in this business and sharp people are probably saying that it's going to be Mahomes, but I'm on the Ravens train.
-3 and 3.5.
I would always take it down to 3.
Okay. Best bet? You're down to 4 teams.
Out of these two games, I would say no. I'm going to split them evenly because here's the thing. It's the conference championships. You can't go big. I preach this all the time to everybody. You can't go big on these high emotion games with a lot on the line.
Before I kick it to the big kahuna, what makes you think the deciding factor in this game is Baltimore? You think it's because the running Lamar's going to have a huge running game? They're going to be able to control Kansas City.
I think Lamar runs the ball better than Mahomes. I think that the weapons that Lamar has are just a little bit better than KC. Is Mark Andrews going to be back for this game?
They were talking about it. I didn't get a full report yet.
If Mark Andrews is back, that's just another weapon. I mean, this is a tight end that has been Kelsey level lately. When he's healthy, he hasn't been healthy.
Well, he's been out for a while, though.
He's been out for a
sometimes
while.
that could throw the rhythm of a team that's playing well off, too.
It could, but they have Zay Flowers. They have
Flowers turned out to be a stud, huh?
They have Isaiah Likely, and they have, of course, Odell Beckham.
Yep.
I like their weapons better. I like their defense a little bit better, even though KC's defense has been amazing lately.
Did you see the stat? Lamar Jackson is the 5th all-time leading rusher in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
Behind, I forgot who it was, but 5th all-time leading rusher is a quarterback in the history of the NFL.
His numbers this year, if you take away all his passing numbers, if you look at his rushing numbers, it looks like
94 yards a game.
It looks like an above-average running back. He put up like 900 yards rushing this year.
I know the big kahuna's itching, so I want to get his take on this game. Obviously, Baltimore and Kansas City. I'm curious to see who you're going with in this one.
Well, I had Baltimore last week. I predicted them double-digit win over the Texans, and I was correct on that one. I think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to buy it down to 2.5. Ravens win this game, but I have 2 props for this game. I think the values are going to be on props. We're talking Lamar Jackson, 1.5 TDs throwing. Go over 1.5 TDs, Lamar Jackson.
Throwing or total rushing and?
No, just throwing.
Throwing, okay.
And I'm also going to go with Mahomes, over 1.5 throwing TDs. Both of these guys are going to have to go into the air. I like those 2 props a lot. For a side, I'm going to take the Ravens, get it down to 2.5. They're going to the Super Bowl.
Guys, I hate to be the party pooper, but I'm disagreeing with both of you again.
I had a feeling.
Absolutely. You are not kicking the king off his throne. No, you are not. I like Kansas City big time in this game.
Wow.
I think the whole world is just pumping up Baltimore and doing this, and they're talking about Lamar over Mahomes. This guy is the best quarterback we have ever seen other than Tom Brady. Hands down. Hands down. And this guy just could look at how he played last week in that hostile environment in Buffalo. I mean, he controlled the game extremely well. Yeah, it was a close game, but when push comes to shove, these games are going to be close. They're going to be physical. They're going to be tight, and you need a leader that can run the show. I don't know if Lamar is that leader, guys. I really don't. He doesn't have a winning record in the playoffs. Yes, he's great. Don't get me wrong. And yes, he can run like a deer. All right, but at the end of the day, Kansas City has those weapons, and they got the head coach that knows what he's doing. And they plan things out as good as anybody. This is a 10-unit best bet winner for me. Kansas City, and I'd buy this line to 4.5 from 3.5. I just think even if it's close, it might be a 2-3 point game, but I like the 4.5, and I'm all over Kansas City. I just think you're not stopping Mahomes from getting back to the Super Bowl.
Will you leave the country if they don't cover?
No. I will not leave
Howard
the country.
Hughes once said that about the spruce goose. If it didn't fly, I'd leave the country.
Listen, I'm a numbers guy.
That's a great Aviator is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That was a classic movie.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the second game
Of
here,
course.
because I got some hockey I want to talk about after this real quick.
All right.
But yeah,
All right, we got the second game. We got the Detroit Lions. How about that? Motown is going into the divisional championship game, and they're jacked up, and their head coach has got them moving in the right direction, and they're playing San Francisco 49ers in their stadium. That's right. And the line on this game, it's high, I'll tell you. 7 points, and the total is 50.5. I'm going to start with you, Big Kahuna, on this one. What's your pick on this game?
Well, listen, this comes down to, once again, it's going to be Baltimore and San Fran in the Super Bowl. How do you attack this one? I would bring it down to 6.5. I think the Niners are going to shine at home. The Niners. Detroit, you got to give them all the credit in the world. They're not going to play against San Fran at home in this championship game.
Why not?
Because I just think they're just not in their caliber as of a team. They've got this far, but in the end, San Francisco is just going to overpower them. But once again, where there's value in props, San Fran's defense is going to stifle Detroit at home. Under 21.5 team total for Lions. They're going to be all over Jared Goff. Under 1.5 passing TDs, and David Montgomery under his receiving yards. Those are three strong props. San Fran dominates at home. San Fran, Baltimore in the Super Bowl.
So you're really doubling down, because not only are you betting San Fran, but you're betting these Lions players to just not perform.
I don't think they're going to show up. I think they're going to just.
They're not going to show up.
They're going to show up, but I think.
I don't think you know who Dan Campbell is.
San Fran's defense is just going to hold them down.
Why?
I just think
They had a hard time getting by Green Bay.
Well, let's see what happens. But I like those props.
All right. You got it. Big Kahuna, you hear what he's saying. He loves the 49ers, and you like it at -6?
I'll bring it down to 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They win by 10 at home.
Listen,
sounds good to me.
I have a feeling, before I even get into this, I have a feeling Scotty is going with the Lions. So if I go with San Fran, that's going to be two games that me and Tommy are agreeing on, and Scotty's going against us. And here's what I think of this one. You got Kittle. You got CMC, Christian McCaffrey. You got Deebo Samuel. Is he playing?
Out.
Is he out officially?
He's out. I think he's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel.
Not officially, but I think he's going to be
Deebo Samuel not playing in this game is really big.
I'm surprised that line's 7 because of that.
If Deebo Samuel gets announced out and that line comes down, I wouldn't be surprised about that. Here's my thing. I read something this morning that said that Shanahan, the coach of the 49ers, was looking into potentially, this was when Brock Purdy was still recovering from that injury, potentially getting Tom Brady to come out of retirement.
Wow.
And that fired up Brock Purdy. He said, listen, I didn't let it ruin my day, but I let it say, okay.
I saw Rod's Tom Brady winning the presidency 150 to 1 too. They've put out numbers on Tom Brady everywhere.
Let me show them. I think Brock Purdy, if you watch ESPN, ESPN right now is like an anti-Brock Purdy parade. You got Ryan Clark, you got all these guys.
Well, he's not really a proven commodity yet.
Well,
especially in the playoffs. I mean, he
what-
did win, but he was sloppy last week
He
against Green Bay.
He was a little off last
That
week.
last drive, if he
he
didn't
has
have
not lost a playoff game that he started and finished. They did lose the playoff game that he started and he got hurt.
Right.
Here's the thing. Just like you're not going against Mahomes until Lamar proves you wrong and Mahomes proves you wrong, I'm not going against Purdy here. Even though Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
I just think that it's Purdy's time. I think that it's Lamar's time. And that's what I'm going with. But I'm not going big on either of these games like the way Scotty's rating his KC play at 10. I can't rate any of these plays at 10, but I will do a small lean. I'm going with both of the favorites in these games.
All right.
Buying them to 3 and 6.5.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you guys as far as the San Fran play. But I'm not going to play it as a straight bet. I'm going to play a 7-point teaser with San Fran down to even, and I'm going to put it with Kansas City to 10.5.
Ooh.
So I'm going to use that play.
Interesting.
I'm not going to touch the game because I think that game could go either way. As far as I think that San Fran will win, but I don't know by how many. They may squeeze by like they did last week, and it took the last drive of the game to get them the win. So I'm gonna make them. I think they're gonna get the job done as far as winning the game, but I think the game's gonna be tight. So I'm gonna take San Fran down to even, and I'm gonna jack up Kansas City to plus 10.5. I like that a lot.
I like that. I even like that, and I'm not even on Kansas City, but that's a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? We've been putting these games out all year
So
long.
that's a 6 or a 7-point teaser.
7.
7-point teaser.
So KC can lose by a touchdown, and then all San Fran has to do is win the game, and it's a winning bet.
Can you see the Lions beating San Fran outright?
Yeah.
That would be the
Yeah,
upset
I
of
can.
the year.
I can.
Seriously.
I don't think it's going to be an upset of it. If the Lions went in there and won,
Hostile environment.
I don't think
in
there
San
is
Fran.
really an upset in this
No.
with the Final
I think
Four.
there-
Whenever you have your Final Four teams left, it's very rare that anything should surprise.
What was the Lions' odds to get this far in the beginning of the season?
well, actually, they actually came out. I mean, their odds weren't too high because they were expected to have a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Not to get to the Super Bowl, of
Right.
course, but they were expected to have a winning season.
Yeah, I think they were pretty much expected to win their division from the go, and Goff was only like 5th or 6th as far as MVP. I mean, a lot of people his MVP odds weren't that crazy, so there you have it. We got these 2 football games, and that's it, guys.
Can you
Super
believe it?
Bowl, and we're
I can't
done
believe it.
with football, which is why we got to start talking about some other sports. So
I think the Big Kahuna's got to start lining up our Super Bowl tickets for Vegas already. What's
Well,
going on with that, Big
yeah.
Kahuna? I'm counting on you.
if he has a good
Ben's
weekend,
counting
I
on
heard
you
he's
too.
getting
My
us
left
the-
kid-
Ben, we ready to hit Vegas with the Big Kahuna and do a show
my,
or what?
my left kidney is healthier than the right one, so I think that's the only way we're getting out there.
Well, listen, you know what? And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about
just
some.
a few hockey teams that are making profit right now.
Go for it.
Yeah. So we were talking about hockey a few weeks ago, and I kept talking about the Canadian teams that are surprising. We talked about it last week, Canadian teams. So I said, let me look at the actual numbers. Sure enough, the teams I've been talking about, the 2 Canadian teams that are surprising everyone, are actually the 2 most profitable teams in hockey right now. So this was printed out on Monday. Today's Wednesday, so each team has had a game since then, and the Jets lost to Boston. But as of Monday, the Winnipeg Jets were number 2 with, if you just bet them straight up every game, 30-14 record, 8.6 units. Vancouver Canucks, 31-15 record, 10.92 units. The Vancouver Canucks have been the most profitable team in hockey. And then you look at some other teams, like you look at a team like Boston, who has a great record, 28-17, but they're minus 0.1 as far as units. So this is what I was talking about as far as, certain teams are going to win a lot, but they have to have a valuable line. When they're minus 250 every game, it's not valuable. But when you can find these teams that are winning a lot, that are minus 140, minus 150, even minus 160 sometimes, but they're winning a lot, those are those teams that are going to have those big plus units.
Well, you got that going on right now with Boston, and they're on a nice run right now.
That's
They
what
won,
I just said,
yeah.
but they're still minus 0.1 units because they're so highly favored in every game. So it's hard to same thing with Edmonton Oilers. They're 26-16, but if you bet them every game, you'd be minus a half a unit.
What, they won 13 in a row, too? Edmonton?
Something crazy, yeah. Very crazy.
They've been
right
crushing. The Canadian teams have been really crushing it.
Yeah, but once again,
Winnipeg.
we got to look at value, like the Avalanche. The Avalanche have.
I don't see a lot of value in hockey right now. The numbers on these teams, like you say, I think it's catching up. These teams that are more favorites, that seems like they're jacking the pricing up.
So now what you have to look for is you have to look for the teams that have underperformed so far and that you think are going to turn it around. The All-Star break is coming up in about a week and a half here for hockey, the beginning of February. So you got to look for the teams that weren't performing. Their odds are going to come down. They're going to go from 180 to 160, 150, and then you got to look for that team and try to ride one or two of those.
Or you got to look for the teams that have been playing bad and hope that they turn it around. Then you catch some
That's
great
what
prices.
I'm saying.
Right.
Teams that have been underperforming, teams that were good, are good, to be good, have a history of being good. They just haven't been hitting the mark. Maybe the goalie has been having a bad stretch. Their shots on goal against are low, but the goalie save percentage isn't good.
Yeah.
But he usually has a good save percentage, and then flip that around and ride him out.
So if you, I mean, I know it's a long way away, but right now, obviously, it looks like the Bruins are going to dominate that conference. Was it the Metropolitan Conference? I think it is.
Yeah. You got the Bruins, you got the Panthers, who looked great defensively.
They're in a little bit of a.
They're in a little bit of a.
Well, they
funk.
won last night.
They're in a little bit of a funk. They lost They were minus 400 to the Devils,
lost.
and then they lost. And
was it
no, it was
Arizona?
the game before the
How
Devils.
about the Vegas Knights?
Yeah, they're playing good now.
Yeah, so the Vegas Knights.
They got a great goalie.
They're 27-19. They are plus 0.2 as far as the units go. I would say based on their past performance, I think they're a team that could be doing a lot better right now.
What management they have, a new team to come out so quick and just get up there. If you think about it, it takes teams years to even get to that point.
Yeah.
Well, they've been around. They got to the Stanley Cup, obviously, and lost it in their first year in existence as an expansion team, which is like unheard of.
Yeah,
and they won it in their sixth year. And, they're in playoff contention again this year. And I'll tell you, Vegas hockey, as I mentioned before, there's nothing like the experience of being at a game in Vegas. It's a real show.
One more team. We were talking about this team last week. You brought them up when we had our hockey guest on, the Flyers. They're only 25-22, but they're plus 7 units. They're third as far as profitability in the league. Their record is only 12th in the league, but the profitability is third in the league. So that's what you got to look for. You got to look for the value in hockey.
Yeah, it's like, well, listen, it's like that in any sport. I mean, it's in football, you have teams that they overvalue. They make the point spreads high. Then you get some live teams that if you're really following a club. The whole key is, guys, we do this for a living, so we're watching everything that's going on. And we're not always right, but at least we look for an edge. And looking for an edge is looking at the games, looking at the numbers, and really breaking it all down. And when you find something that you're watching every day, don't forget, we're not just browsing here. We're spending long days, 7 days a week at this. So we look for an edge. And when you think you have that edge, it gives you the upper hand at the end of the day, especially when you bet money on these games.
I'm going to bring the same numbers next week for college hoops, and then maybe
we got to start. We got to
maybe
start.
you could do
some.
some NBA because I don't touch the NBA. For me, it's just not my sport. I'm going to kick that to you guys and let you guys handle that next week.
Is Big Kahuna, what's more of a favorite sport for you, the NBA or the college basketball?
I prefer NBA, but I'm going to throw this out there, and I've been dabbling, and I've hit some tickets recently, betting through the Hard Rock. I love soccer.
They don't like you at the Hard Rock, I heard.
Soccer is a great betting sport, and more people are betting soccer in this country, so we should also bring on a soccer expert.
Oh, boy.
Premier League goes...
Golf, soccer, we're moving and grooving here.
Let me tell you, since legalization, this has opened up across the board.
What about
now.
pickleball? We got any pickleball
yeah,
experts we got to bring on?
But soccer is a big betting sport, and let me tell you, there's a lot of ways to make money in soccer. So we could talk about that as, next week's going to be an in-between week, so there's no football. So we'll have some good stuff to talk about.
Well, Teddy and I are going to get our thinking caps going because there's a lot of college basketball.
Yeah.
I love college hoops this time of the year.
I had Dayton last night, squeaked by with Dayton.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, a win's a win.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we had a great show.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
college basketball right now, between now and the start of the tournament, You have conference play. Teams are playing similar teams. It's the best time of the year to bet college hoops because you can see, oh, this team, they both played the same team last week. How did they both do against them? Look for a similar trend. In the last 20 games, they played 3 of the same teams, and Team A beat that team way worse than Team B did, and that shows you that Team A might be the role. So, college hoops, very excited.
Hey, I think we should have a little wager here on the panel between us, a steak dinner at the NYY. If Kansas City wins, you guys take care of me. If the other side wins, I take care of you two.
Yeah, we could do maybe
Put a little something on the line here on
maybe a
the
little
show
New
for
York
the first
crime,
time all
or
year.
maybe go right across the chops. Who knows? But yeah,
I think we should have a little friendly wager.
like it.
A little
I like
dinner
it.
wager against the point spread. You guys, I have Kansas City. I'm going.
so it's going to be a lot more expensive for you because you got to buy 2. We just have to split
But
one.
I'm feeling good about mine. I'm feeling
Hey,
good.
I think
Can I bring a date?
You can bring whatever. Big Kahuna, listen, when it comes to you, anything you want, I'm good
All
with
right,
it.
well, how about 2?
More the merrier, Big Kahuna. You want to bring
plus
first?
Let me- let me-
500,000.
let me
You
find-
want to bring the Team Vixens with us? We'll bring the Team Vixens.
Let me find the first one, then I'll work on the second one.
Listen, a guy like you shouldn't have any issues,
Yeah. All right.
right? Ben, what's your thoughts?
Go
on it?
Ravens.
The Big Kahuna should have no issues,
Hey,
right?
where do I come and play in that? I get to come too?
Yeah, we could bring Ben.
All right.
Brent could be the spokesman. He could be the anchor guy for us.
There you go.
There you go. He's the good-looking young guy.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we had a really good show.
Excellent show.
I appreciate you guys, as always, being on with me and making it easier for me, and all the opinions you guys bring to the table is great. I hope you guys out there really take a liking to what we're doing because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be back each and every week with the show. But before we go, Teddy, I know you're putting stuff out every day. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, 32-13 in our last 45 free games. Let's go to youtube.com/@thesportsprofits, Instagram @the_profits_pick, no S on pick. And those are the 2 main spots where you're going to find my games.
32-13, you can't beat that, and that's for free.
71%.
Picture what he's doing with his stuff that he really likes. All right, Big Kahuna, where can the people find your daily information?
My Instagram channel's on fire. Clip is last night, 7-2 the last 9 nights. OSB_sports. We put up free picks daily. You want to check out the website because we put up a lot of content daily, onlinesportsbet.com, and my YouTube, OSB-sports.
Big Kahuna's got it going on, guys. And I think I'm going to be having a nice steak next week from you guys, so I'm going to be a little jacked up. All right, guys, you can find me on TikTok and on Instagram. I put out stuff for free every single day, never charged. It's all free. Check out my TikTok at SMPicks, P-I-C-K-S, and my Instagram channel is at SMSportsPicks, P-I-C-K-S. Again, check it all out. It's all free. Great show. Check out the show we do. It's called the OSB Sports Podcast Show. We're up each and every week. Our main man, Ben, gets the job done for us. He makes it all happen here at the Podcast Junkie Studios. You can find the show on Spotify. You can find it on Apple. So check it all out. Again, it's the OSB Sports Podcast Show. I'm Scott Matthews. We'll see you back here next week. My wife's fucking blown.